Hello everyone, welcome to another YouTube tutorial. Today we're going to be covering a pumpkin slash melon farm design. Um, this design is pretty efficient and it gets you a bunch of melons and or a bunch of pumpkins, depending on what you want. And so let's go ahead and just jump through each of the components. I'm hoping to explain it every little piece. So let's first start with the idea of the collection system. So the collection system is going to rely on Allays instead of hopper minecart tracks. And this has a few advantages. One of the best ones, it'll allow us to stack it vertically without expanding the collection system. Now how it works is the Allay will actually go and get whatever item you throw to him. He'll pick him up. And if he's synced to a note block, he will deposit those items in that water stream. Now he does take a little bit to desync, and I have quite a bit of note blocks here, so you can run into some interference if you build too many of these too close. A few ways around that is to do wool inclusion. That would help fix some of these problems. Wool can block the note blocks from reaching. But the idea is that he gets synced and he throws all of his melons that he has collected into that water stream, and then they get picked up by the hoppers. Now that's the basic idea behind the collection system, and so let's go over here and describe the farm. Now the general idea of the farm is you can duplicate it, have one collection system, one note block timer, and then have each side. Now technically you can actually have it 4 pieces. It is really symmetrical. You'll just have to shuffle your item collection system away from the farm. And that can easily be done with these water streams that are already integrated into the collection system. So how it works is you essentially are going to checkerboard a square plot of land with farmland and some sort of block for the melons to grow onto. I went with mud blocks just because I like the aesthetic. And then over every single farm, you will put a seed. Grow it with bone meal because it does take a while to grow naturally. An observer and some pistons to break. Now the nice thing with this farm is you could actually double it. And as you can see, these ones, melons, will grow without breaking, whereas these ones, they will automatically break when they grow. Now that's not really a problem, because whenever these observers trigger, it'll also trigger the sticky pistons above, like you just saw there, breaking the ones that are up top, as well as the ones that grew down below. So it's using the detection system from the bottom layer to break the corresponding top layer. And that actually saves us a lot of redstone, and it makes it just a bit more compact. And since we're using Allays to the collection system, they can handle all the layers just fine by themselves. So let's go ahead and just cover some of the materials and how to actually get that collection system set up and running. So let's look at the collection system. Ignore my inventory, it's full of junk. For the collection system, we're going to actually be building a etho hopper clock, and this is to actually sync those note blocks on a timer. So for the timer, we're going to need 1 redstone block, 2 comparators, 2 hoppers, 2 solid blocks of your choice, 22 items for the timer, and it's roughly about 0.4 seconds per item transferring back and forth between the hoppers. And so you can actually adjust that timer as needed, making it longer or shorter. The main thing we want to do is to chime the note block so we don't desync our allays for too long and we don't lose any items due to despawning. So I found from testing 22 items seems like a good number. And then we're going to need 2 redstone dust. And You have an optional 2 composters for the Etho hopper clock. These composters are to reduce lag. Um, so these hoppers will also be checking the block above it every game tick, I believe. And by putting composters above it, it finishes the check much faster. So that kind of just helps reduce the amount of work that these hoppers are doing, just to help out your server just a tiny bit more. So I think it's well worth it, and it's just a couple composters, so that's pretty simple. Now, if you don't know how Etho Hopper Clock works, this redstone block will shuffle back and forth, and will lock the hopper. Now, when the hopper fills completely full, it will depower the back piston and allow the front piston to finally push over, locking the other side. And how you build it is you feed 2 hoppers into each other, put a comparator leading into a solid block that will power this block and then power this redstone behind it, which feeds into the piston. Now, these are just regular pistons, they're not sticky pistons. And we just kind of duplicate that design over here, and we can build our Etho hopper clock. And now what we need to do is we need to take that pulse that happens and feed it up into a note block so it corresponds to the timer. So whenever this block begins to start filling, there we go, it ticks, pulses the note block, and syncs the allays to it. So that is the entire Etho hopper clock done. That is how we're going to be triggering our note block every time. Now, one thing to note is this block here is just any solid block. And that is to actually power with a redstone torch. And that will trigger our note block. Now, there's a couple different options for the note blocks that you actually want. So let's just go over a few of those solid block options. There's more than just this. These are just some of the ones that I like. So there's clay blocks, which you can set to any of these sounds. There's wood, dirt, and this one is the same as the dirt block. It's also the same as nothing, but we need a powered block. So you could do a redstone lamp. There's packed ice. Any stone variant. Bone blocks, iron blocks, and gold blocks. Just to prove that they are powered, it is powering all of these blocks adjacent to those solid blocks. So any of these will definitely work in the farm. There is some more options. I encourage you to look up some other YouTube videos to find sounds that you like, or just experiment. And there is modifications to the design if you want it to be a transparent block, like a glass block. All you're going to have to do is change how this redstone gets fed upwards. I just went with a simple torch tower because it made the design easier. Now, with that out of the way, let's look into building a little bit more, explaining a little bit more of the collection system. So for the Etho hopper clock, we need all of these materials. We need some sort of sound block modifier to change the note block tune. And then we do need a transparent block. And this is important because we do not want a solid block here, because that redstone will actually power this block, which will then lock this hopper. And that is going to only unlock the hopper every other cycle of this clock, and that's not what we want. So we want either nothing here or just some sort of transparent block, just to guarantee this hopper doesn't get locked. So that's that. And now for the actual collection system, we're going to need a smooth stone slab, or any slab, a few hoppers, allays, water source, and then any wall, glass, or fence to simply stop this water flow from going past the hopper. So So this allows any of the items to be funneled into the hopper, which then go into the chest. And now how this works is this note block will trigger, the Allays will then sync to it, and come over here, and it turns out that they actually try to throw their items to the note block, even through glass. So they'll throw the items over to the note block, which will just funnel right into this water stream, and then go into the hopper. So we're going to take advantage of that to create our collection system. Now there is a little bit, no, you would think that maybe this could just be empty, just a full source block. But it turns out it might be possible, although it's unlikely. An allay might actually fall into the water source block and get pushed, being stuck in here in between the glass block. And we don't want that. And then the other reason why we want a half slab and not a trapdoor, or we want some sort of slab, is because Frostwalker can't freeze this water source block if you have a slab in it. Now, if you did a trapdoor, I believe the Allay is still able to fit through that gap, but a slab, that won't happen. So that is the entire collection system explained. It's as simple as that. Now we can actually go ahead and build the farm module. Now, testing the pumpkin melon growing mechanics out. Let's come over here to my test environment. Now, one method is to do every single melon has an available block to grow on. But that actually turns out to be much, much slower. So there's a lot less melons that get collected in this tiling for the same amount of space. The one pro to doing this is you will use a lot less observers and pistons, but I think it's worth the materials to actually just go ahead and use all the pistons and observers to occupy the exact same space, and you just get much, much higher yields. So that's why I would recommend doing this design, and it's also simpler to build. So let's zoom over here and explain that build. So now that you have all of your blocks, you can go ahead and start building the farm. Now it's really easy. You just start one diagonal from the water source block, and go ahead and place a piece of farmland. Get your seeds that you'd like to grow. And this could be pumpkins or melons for this design. So let's go ahead and find the seeds. Let's go with melon seeds. And while we're here, we're going to grab bone meal too. I would highly recommend using bone meal, because on this design, with them being so close to each other, the melons take a while to grow, and we want to just speed that process up with bone meal. So let's go ahead and just speed it up. Easy. And then we're going to go ahead and grab our observers and our pistons. Now every melon stalk requires one observer above it. So you can just place your first one, crouch, and then just walk the diagonal paths. And we're just going to make a little checkerboard pattern of mud blocks underneath with farmland. And then what you want to do is you want to either use your elytra or a trapdoor to get into crawl mode. And then you just want to place these pistons in between all of these observers, leaving this water source block gap. And that will allow the allay to actually fly up and down this channel, going to different floors for the collection process. Okay, so we're just going to build the small version. Expanding this, you're going to just continue this exact pattern out as far as you'd like. Now we just need to get any solid block, such as cobblestone, stone, dirt, any of those, and we're going to put it over every single piston. And then we're going to need some redstone for every observer. So every melon farmland, we're going to need one more observer, one more redstone, and then every piston, we're going to need a solid block that goes with it. And then we're going to go ahead and just case this off with any sort of building block you want. I'm using glass so you can see inside the farm. You might have noticed on the big version that there's a few layers that you might want to hide with a non-transparent block. We're going to go ahead and just use glass here, so let's just go and case this off. So like these layers could be hidden. And that is one module done. So now whenever a pumpkin or melon grows, the observer will see the change in the stalk shape and will trigger the pistons nearby it. Now, for small farms, this isn't going to be super efficient, but as you get bigger, it becomes more efficient. So every time one of these melons grows, it will auto-harvest, and the Allay will go and collect them all, and then throw them into the hopper system. Now, to double this farm, all we need to do is add a sticky piston. For the reverse side of it, we're going to reverse it. So every solid block will have a sticky piston facing upwards. And now whenever these observers trigger, it will not only trigger the piston, but it'll also trigger the sticky pistons above. So that will shuffle upwards and will harvest any of the melons that grow. So to do that, we're going to need a block right here. We're going to go ahead and put that melon in there before it turns into dirt. Now notice there is no water here. That is fine, because that only speeds up the stalk growth, not the melon growth. So once that stalk is grown, there's no need for it to be waterlogged or water sourced or anything. Although you can do that with some stairs and blocks on the side to like do some water logging. It's just not necessary. Now this melon will grow on any one of these 4 chambers and will get shuffled up when the bottom layer triggers. Now we can actually put another one here. So let's go and grab that. And another one here. We want to leave this because this is our Allay access point to the top layer. And then we just bone meal it up. And that is basically the entire farm done. We just replicate that pattern on the other side. And we extend it larger on this side. So we just tile, place a seed, tile it, place a seed. Now there's a couple caveats to this. One thing to know is Allays will teleport through. But we can't tile it this way because that's the other farm. Allays will teleport with you through a Nether portal unless they're on a lead. And because we want to make this farm really big and we want to have that Allay going between layers, we don't want leads attached to these Allays. So what we want to do is we want to actually make sure that our Nether portal is not too close to this farm. And you're going to have to play around with the exact numbers to see how close. It shouldn't be too far. I'm going to try it out soon here. I'll just pick a random spot and hope it works. Just to give you a quick reference. And then you want to encase this with glass and get an Allay in here. Now you will have to find some Allays. Build your outposts, and I believe woodland mansions are good places to find Allays. Lure them in here, get them fully encased in glass, and then your farm starts working. As soon as you give them the item that they need to be collecting. So this one is holding some melons. This one is holding melons as well, looks like, so I was doing my testing. If we come over here, we have a pumpkin guy and a melon guy. And that's all it really takes. And then you could actually just start collecting them and just have this fully AFK farm running in your world. So let's go ahead and put a nether portal down just in a kind of a random place to see if they will transfer over. Let's find some obsidian here. And let's get a flint and steel. And let's just go, let's see, we have a bunch of farms. Let's just guess that this will work. Don't mind my improvised nether portal. Okay, let's see how many came with us. I'm hoping none. Oh, it looks like at least one came with us. Did you have anything? He had no items. That's interesting. He might not have been from the farm. He might have been a wanderer. Let's go back. Awkward. This is another YouTube video where I was explaining this exact problem. If they're on leads, they don't teleport. Now, where on earth is my farm? I seem to have lost it, but that seemed to have been actually, like, far enough away where there was no Allays teleporting or anything like that. So that should be good for today. I hope you enjoyed the pumpkin melon farm and this quick overview of all these other random bits and bobs in my world. Like and subscribe for more farms videos. This is BadBrewster17. You can find me on YouTube. I also do a lot of streaming on Twitch, but mainly focusing on just making YouTube videos. So there's a lot of raw edits and other stuff if you actually want to find me on Twitch. BadBrewster17 is the handle there as well. And I believe I'm actually getting close to coming back to the farm. Let's just double check, verify that that was a different allay. This guy's still there, these guys are still there. Okay, so even having it that far away, none of these guys teleported. And there was no allay in that one. And this one, they're still there too. So, just don't have it right on top of the farm and you should be good to go. But anyways, have a good one. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for more YouTube content on Minecraft and Minecraft farms.